What's going on, guys? This is video number 4 of my 100 videos in 100 days challenge. This one I wanted to talk about the inner critic, or the inner dialogue that goes on inside your head that can often be very negative. At least I know it is for me a lot of the time. And I think this is something that, I think everyone has an inner critic, and I think that it's hard to say. I don't know everybody's head, but I still think everyone has an inner critic. Let's say that. I think for some people it is extremely pronounced. It happens all the time. You're constantly criticizing yourself and berating yourself. And to be honest, this was the case for me for a lot of years. And I think that it was kind of it was like a fish living in a fish tank, where you're surrounded by it, and it's a big part of your experience, but you don't realize that you're in water, as in the fish analogy. You're not super aware consciously of the criticism. So the first step, I think, is becoming aware. So paying attention to your thoughts, and I think meditation can be a big help with that, being consciously aware of your thoughts. And then recognizing what they are and working with those thoughts. So to get into my story, a lot of what I would criticize myself for pretty regularly was intelligence. And I think to some people who know me that might sound funny, because externally I think I come across, I've come to a point where I've realized this, and I think logically this was the case for me, but on a deeper emotional level, I was really critical of my own intelligence, and that showed up in terms of me not speaking up in conversations, not being able to give my best work at work or in other places, due to the fact that I was blocked because I was in my own head, questioning my own intelligence and criticizing myself for it when I would make a small mistake, or just not speaking up because I was afraid that I would make a mistake in speech. For instance, I felt like I had to have the perfect thing to say. I felt like any grammatical slip-ups would be super embarrassing and too difficult emotionally for me to speak up in many situations. And this isn't to say some people know me and I come across fine in certain social situations, so it's not all the time, but the criticism stopped me from showing up in a way that I know that I now think I can. So the inner critic, become aware of your inner thoughts. That was the biggest thing for me. There are many other things I criticize myself. I won't make this video all about the ways that I attack myself. But become aware of those criticisms of yourself, and then what helped me was journaling out or speaking out loud a dialogue with that critic. What does that critic say? How does that critic show up? Does it show up as a certain person in your life? Does it show up as does it have a certain voice or a certain look to it? And then dialogue out in a journal, what is the critic saying? And then your logical response to it. And in your responses, treat the critic like it's a young 7-year-old child who is a bit tantrumy, and respond to it with compassion. Give it its voice, but hold your own ground. Don't be defensive with it, but question it and ask it to keep going, keep giving you more evidence. And as that progresses, I think you'll start to logically realize that what the critic is saying is not based in reality. It's not logical. So this is something that it sounds maybe deep and maybe woo-woo, who knows, depending on where you're coming from. But I found it to be like a really, really helpful exercise in breaking through and seeing what my own criticism is, becoming more aware of it, and helping to alleviate it. So I don't know. Maybe you don't really relate to this, but I challenge you to become more aware and to work with that criticism. So I hope this helps. I hope it resonates with you in some way. But if not, then honestly, good for you. If there is no criticism in your head, I know it was and continues to be to a lesser extent, but a big thing holding me back and a big thing that was painful for me. So I hope that helps. Thanks.